Hi, welcome to Awake TV. So today we want to talk about divine design, how our higher self, spiritual team, and our divine selves are navigating the direct us when we happen to choose the wrong direction or wrong choice, or not the choice our souls really want us to go to. So we're gonna share our tips and our experience and the stuff like that, and we're gonna talk about synchronicity. So let's get started. Okay, so Sue, do you have any kind of synchronicity experience about that?
Oh gosh, more than I can come up with right now, but I just want to kind of first cover, what that is and what that looks like, synchronicity. So, our spirit team, the universe, but our spirit team, our guides, ascended masters, guardian archangels, and every other soul that agrees to follow us in this lifetime will assist us along the way to keep us on our life plan, our path, because in actuality, that's our choosing, and this is what our desire is. And so because we go through the veil of forgetting, we don't remember what we chose to come here and experience. And so we have this whole team around us that assists and in giving us, and now synchronicity, what that is like messages that help us in a and the bird kingdom in particular. So as I'm walking and exercising or just out doing whatever, when I receive a feather that I immediately, now most of them I have memorized, but the birds around here in New York and upstate, but it's a message. And it's a synchronicity that's it's like trying to tell me, okay, either A, you're on the right track, or this is something you need to consider. So for example, if I were to get an eagle feather, which I don't, but if I were to, that's expert vision because they fly so high and their eyesight is so good. And so that might tell me to rise above the situation and see it from a higher perspective, for example. So that's the first thing that comes to mind. And synchronicities, could be in songs and movies. People, you're in the grocery store and all of a sudden you hear somebody talking about something and it's like the exact information that fits into something you're dealing with. And then all of a sudden you're just kind of, a light bulb goes off and you go, oh, I hadn't thought of it that way, sort of example. What about you, Erica? Do you have a good one to
Yeah,
share?
like I have a couple of them. Like I don't know, last few months I was hearing the thought. It wasn't my guide voice or anything. Like, I had to send a dissolution agreement with my business partner in other company I was doing it. And then I brushed it off, and then it continued to be happening, like even though I was thinking about completely different thing. So after like I kind of heard that thought or realized that thought, even though that wasn't mine, because I was thinking about something else, I was like, okay, this must be the message from higher self or whatever. I had to write the paper right now and then send the document to my business partner to make it official, even though, we already closed the company, but, our personal agreement was not dissolved yet. So I did that, and that was one of the, I guess you can call as a synchronicity. And also, I started hearing uh, not hearing, I started seeing this word like trust the process. And I had that in tarot card message, like one of the tarot card was saying, not my reading, but reading I have been to be watching. And then I heard that word from other people. And then it happened 3 times. And I'm thinking like, okay, this must be the message too. I just have to trust the process and stuff like that. Like, that is, I guess, immediate example I can come up with.
Mm-hmm.
But how
Mm-hmm.
about like when we happen to be in the, having wrong choice, and did you notice any kind of synchronicity or sign coming from the universe?
Mm. Sure, I can come up with one of those. Well, um, we had talked about before my going into the army and into enlisting into the army, and the me having a difficult time being granted the physical that's necessary to do that. And so I would say that it's not a great example. I mean, it is a synchronicity, but it's not a real obvious one. The fact that it doesn't, like if I had had somebody that came along at that point in time, that maybe we were recruits together and they had talked about that, oh, it was so easy for them to get scheduled. And then all of a sudden, I have to sit and question and go, why am I not being scheduled? That would have been more synchronicitous, if that's a word. Because then I could say, oh, okay, why is it so easy for this person to get scheduled, but not myself? And that didn't really happen. I just kind of kept banging on that door and it wasn't opening. But boy, of all the examples I have, which are billions, but I think it's worth mentioning that, you and I have the ability to communicate directly with our guides, our higher selves, and, the angels. But that was something for me that I developed over time. And so before they were able to access me by my opening up to them, I had to rely on messages that came along the pipeline. So, if I'm, say, for example, I can think of one relationship now, I'll give you a better example. When every time you're trying to get together or make plans with that person, and then something keeps coming into the field that's preventing it. Or maybe they keep making excuses. And then you're overhearing. So the synchronicity would be you're at work and you're overhearing a workmate talking about a similar situation. And it becomes clear to you through listening to that conversation that you're going through the same thing. And then maybe somebody having that other conversation says, well, maybe he's just not that into you. So that could be a help, if something along that line happens, and I'm being very general, I'm not getting too specific, but that message that you just overheard at the cafe or at work or whatever, that's the synchronicity, and that's letting you know, oh, it gives you the ability, your guides, your team are giving you the ability to hear that information because you're not connecting with them directly yet. And that's okay. We get there in our own time, but that's giving you the information that you need to help guide you into another choice, another focus of your attention.
Yeah, and sometimes, when you need to learn certain lessons, your guide are not going to say anything like you have to go on the left or right or this and that. And then, sometimes they ask you, hey, if you want to know your choice, like ask universe yes or no, clear ones. I asked a million of times. I never get those like yes and no answer, or not even a
Yeah.
clue.
Yeah,
So
they won't do that because, I mean, what's the point of coming here and living life if we have all the answers? That's kind of like watching the end of the movie before you've watched the beginning and the middle.
yeah, but
So,
that's what people say to get synchronicity, ask the universe to give you the clear answer. So I did that a couple of
that's
times in
good.
the beginning of my awakening journey, and I was thinking like, okay, this doesn't work, you know?
Yeah, I mean, if you're asking for a sign, I think that's when the synchronicity will come your way. But you got to be then, once you've asked for it, then you have to be open to receiving it in whatever form it comes. And it may come, for example, you're watching a movie, something that you're attracted to, and there's a dimension in the movie, there's some kind of storyline that, really resonates with you. That's your sign.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, but
So,
sometimes it doesn't come. That's my point. They want you to learn your lesson or go through whatever, so they don't send you anything.
Oh no, yeah. I mean, I find that I'll at least get clues along the way, like I was saying, about a movie or something like that, but they're not going to give us the answers. Because that kind of takes away our free will and our choice to come here in the first place and learn these lessons. We got to battle through it. And I say battle, sometimes it doesn't have to be a battle. It can just be as much as staying present, taking a breath, and becoming aware of how you're feeling, tuning into what your thoughts are, changing your thought patterns, that sort of thing. And then you can raise your vibration and tune in better as to what your path actually is. Where are you being drawn? And I wonder, how do you know, Erica, that you're on the right path? I mean, we can find a million
I think you
examples
feel
of on the.
you feel good about it. You know what I'm saying? You feel good about it, and the things goes pretty well about it. Like, I just gonna stick with this sign thing. Like, recently I experienced amazing ones. I was trying to do collaboration with one of our BQH colleague, and then we talked about it in, I think, July, and then she had to go to Greece and all that stuff, and then we didn't have a chance to talk to each other. And then I had a channeling session with Daniel Scranton, and then I was listening, asking all these business questions. And then I started talking about collaboration with Ashtar of Ashtar Command. And then he was like, started talking about what we can do. And then at the end, he doesn't finish the channeling. And I was like, why he's not going? Because Daniel always does like closing stuff, and then he doesn't move to that, and then all silence. So I was like, hey, so do you guys want me to channel? Maybe is that it? They're like, yes. So because of the silence. And then, okay, I was never gonna, thinking about channeling. That's why I started to do channeling message on this YouTube channel on Wednesdays. But I told that to the person, and then she happened to be looking to the person who does that for her, because her previous person is no longer doing it with her. So everything is set up, and then she was like, she flipped out. Like, I sent a message like, hey, Asta happened to be talking to me, and I guess he wants me to do channeling, and you wanted to do something galactic, and what do you think? And then she was like, oh my God, what kind of synchronicity that? I mean, it's more than synchronicity. Everything was set up, and then our timing of talking to each other had to be like this month, not in July, because everything has to fall into the places. Then both of us freaked out. All this divine timing, like sometimes you have to wait patiently for something to happen, and it's not your timing of something you want to do, but you have to wait until like everything fall into the places, and all this everything fall into the places. You don't know what's going on like in the background, because you don't know everything else. You only know about your situation, right?
Right, that's true. And being ready for the change. I mean, if it's a collaboration, both parties need to be ready. So like you said, you had no idea what was going on in her background at the time, and it sounded like some travel and some family stuff. And yeah, it just happened to me recently where I met I want to say he's in my soul group, but I'm not absolutely sure. We're not absolutely sure about that. His name is Pierre, and he lives in Sweden. And the synchronicity of it was I wrote a post on something on Facebook that he just happened to see, right? And he personal messaged me a couple months ago and wanted to ask me some questions about it. And he's also in doing the hypnosis, the QHHT, and he was a social worker for years. So, I mean, we have a very lot of similar background, and thankfully he speaks English because I don't speak other languages. But, and as we started just having these dialogues back and forth about many different topics, we both ascertained and we're telling each other about how we do energy work, for the collective and that sort of thing. But we found out that we're both from Sirius. and that we had at least one Syrian life together, and that what we plan to do is a collaboration here, to write books together. So I don't know if that'll happen. I mean, it's a possibility. It's one possible timeline that we can go on, or we can just continue sharing information, which really, it bolsters my energy quite a bit to have somebody to talk about these things with, that understands, like you and I, like we understand each other's language, we understand one another, so we can have these talks. And, but the synchronicity was, finding out that we had this life plan to do something here together, a collaboration and a manifestation, outside of, something that's tangible that people can grab onto, outside of the energy that we work and do for the collective that isn't tangible. I can tell people, at night I go out of my body and I work on the collective, on transmuting energy, but I can't prove it, right? And, it's just what we do. And he's working in Tibet right now. There's some crystals in the earth that are to ultimately, one big crystal that he's telling me about, that they're going to be honing in on that energy and bringing people to it, because it's supposed to help release China from the bondage that has been going on for so many years. So anyway, really exciting stuff. But how, it's not by accident that you were given the message to channel, and the person you're working with just happens to need one now. And, I've been thinking about writing a book for, quite some time now. And, I take notes and I keep things. I haven't even put up my blog. So I'm getting there. Okay, I'm getting there. But I thought of making it like as a collection of things and offering it for free in PDF. And then, anyway, it would be so awesome to have someone to collaborate with. And he just happened to look on that Facebook post and had the courage to reach out.
It must be the collaboration. Like, what I started to find out is, of course, there's a free will, but like, it's not that simple, because unless we are completely clear and completely aligned with our soul as who we are all programmed. So when we happen to be in, I don't like using wrong direction, but use it as a clarity. Like if we happen to be in the wrong direction where your soul does not want you to be at, and then you finished all of the lessons by being in the wrong direction, and then you have nothing else to learn, then I feel like our teams, like higher self, spiritual teams, galactic teams, and our divine selves, they're gonna make stuff happen and shake and move all this, make outside the incident happen, like and then make us go to the direction they want us to go to.
Okay, so I got a really good example of what you just said. And I agree with you. In the end, when we die, it doesn't really matter whether we achieved everything we wanted to. There's no judgment there. However, our team, like you said, is going to try their very best to redirect us back to our plan. So you can call it a wrong direction, but I just call it off plan. I'm off my game. So this is an example I can take from personal. I have a niece who was hanging out with this guy, and he liked to drink and drive, and drug and drink and drive, right? Bad accident they were into. He was in the hospital. She was not. She was okay. She came through it unscathed. So that was a lesson, a synchronicity, a message saying, you don't want to do this kind of thing, because it's not going to be good for you in your life. She's a senior in college now. She's doing phenomenally what she's studying and all of that. But if she had kept on that path and kept hanging out with this guy, you don't get a clearer message than you just bypassed a major tragedy. I think he was in the hospital in the ICU for a couple of days, and she came out of it unscathed. And I said to her directly, just because I can, because, we're so close, I said, there's your message. There's the universe saying to you, if you want to keep doing this sort of thing, She wasn't driving and she wasn't doing the same, but she allowed herself to be in the path of, imminent danger. And so, yeah, our teams will send us. I believe that was absolutely choreographed to let her know this guy isn't for you, and these kind of behaviors are not where you're going.
Yeah. I mean, like, it was kind of a good lesson for me as well, because, I seriously thought to myself, I'm gonna end up, you know, ending my life still in the entertainment industry. You know what I'm saying? That's how committed I was. And then I'm here doing completely different thing, which I'm super happy with. But unless divine, orchestration happened in my life, I wouldn't choose it. If everything goes well with my original plan, I would stick to it. It might not be my soul plan, but that's
Yeah.
what I wanted, like my mind. And all this orchestration kind of like make you difficult to keep on be on the path. Maybe that lesson was over, that chapter was over, you have to move to something else. That's what your soul wanted, but not always, you are super aware of what your soul wanted purely. Like, you don't really remember. I do now, but you might not remember like clearly what kind of contract you had, or what you signed up for.
True. Yeah. Well, and you mentioned, I think when we pursue our highest joy, okay, the thing that really turns us on when we think about doing it. Okay, so for example, you may still have bills to pay and all that. So if your highest joy is art, and you can't figure out how this is going to pay the bills, do whatever job you're doing and see if you can't maybe work it around to being artistic in whatever way, but do your art too, right? You can
Yeah,
do it
half
on the
and half.
side. You can do it on the weekend during your spare time, whatever, every chance you get it. So when you're doing the thing that brings true joy into your life, that's how you know, you're on a right path
And the
for
funny
me.
thing is, like, all these skills I have using for my, coaching, I got it like by taking as a hobby while I'm doing, my entertainment job. So I don't have to prepare to change my profession. It was already done.
Yeah.
I wasn't really using as a profession, but I finished everything, getting certification and training just for
Isn't that wonderful how that works out? And
yeah.
it's funny, I didn't know who Dolores Cannon was, a couple of years ago when I first started doing quantum healing. But I had known since I was in my 20s that I wanted to learn how to do past life regression. I wanted to do, so all of that study into becoming a licensed social worker had to do with getting credentials and the paperwork and all of that. And then I would have taken the course on how to be to do professional hypnotherapy with
Mhm.
papers and documents, and you studied with this one and that one. Guess what? I just happened to learn or hear. I'm at work doing my photoshopping and my promotional work, and I just happened to get on to Synchronicity to Dolores Cannon, and something just told me to listen. I mean, I don't know why. I guess maybe the heading of the YouTube turned me on, and I said, "Oh, I'm going to listen to this."
Yeah.
And wow, I mean, I was blown away. The joy that I felt just listening to her voice and what she was saying and what was possible. I think I was listening to her 30 years of, working in past lives. And I just love the topic of past lives. So I was like, oh, I'm going to listen to, and I just was blown away. And I said, boy, I hope this is being taught. I want to learn how to do this. And here's why this avenue was better for me than all the other ones I tried, which are, it's because of, it's unlimited. It's unlimited. And what you're doing is unlimited in the sense that we can give each client exactly what they need because it's their spirit team that's coming in. We're just the one getting them there, right? it's their spirit team that's coming in and giving them the message they need, the healing they need, the perspective that they need. And I think that's way better for each individual than having some therapist come in and sit there and say, this is what I think you need, right? And we have the psychic abilities, so we can tune into that without the technique, but really
Well, we
it's more
can do that.
believable. It's more believable for a person if they find their own answers.
Yeah, I mean, like, we could give, our teams can also collaborate with their team, and we can give whatever we can feel, during the session. But I feel like when people are looking for clarity, for example, like I have a lot of twin flame clients, and they're looking for, oh, is he or is she my twin flame? I'm never going to answer that question to my client, because they have to find out on their own. And then, us facilitating how to find a way to get their own clarity, that is more sure, answer to
It
get.
feels more real for them, I think. I know for me, when I first had my first sessions, it was so, I mean, it was more than real. It was explosive. It blew me wide open. I mean, I landed in the central sun, and my higher self gave me some extra energy right into my body. So, I mean, I knew exactly what was going on. So if someone were to tell me that, I'd say, okay, that sounds good. But I felt it. I experienced it. I had a heart healing. I didn't even know I had a heart problem. It wasn't a big problem, but it needed some adjustment because I'd had a lot of heartbreak in life. Anyway, if I hadn't experienced all of that, nobody could have told me about it, and I would have internalized it the way that you do when you experience it. So thank God for that synchronicity. Thank God my team said, oh, this is what you want to do? Okay, here's Dolores Cannon. And yeah, I'm just so grateful, and I feel so good about it. I mean, doing this work is, I don't know. I don't have words for it. I love it. And I love working with people. I always have. And I love when I have a session with somebody and they come out of it with something profound for them.
Yeah, like having a joy to do work is one of the signs that's our soul purpose, because like always feeling joy and feeling fulfillment, that's a big sign. So I kind of blanked out. I was thinking like, oh yeah, before we go, what is your quick tips for our viewers to be aware of all this synchronicity and signs?
Well, most people have an internal feeling when a synchronicity happens. So overhearing a conversation, hearing a song on the radio, watching just the right movie, any of those kind of things, people generally have a feeling when it happens. Like, oh, wow, that's a coincidence. No, it's not a coincidence. Trust it, because that's your sign. That's your synchronicity.
Mm-hmm. And mine is also be observant and also be receptive. Don't like brush off like, oh, this is a coincidence, or I just overthinking about it, or I'm thinking too spiritual. Just accept the simple, like simply, okay, this must be the sign, right? If it keeps on coming into your thought, it keeps on hearing this music, keeps on looking at certain word is coming up to you, that is a sign. So be receptive. Being receptive is super important. Okay, so thank you so much for watching, and please share, subscribe, and like. And thank you so much for Sue.
Oh, thank you. And it was a pleasure.
Thank you. So I see you guys next week, next Friday. Bye.
Bye.